Hi friends, I am Uday Kandpal and I welcome you all to yet another lecture on NCERT Class 6 History Chapter 5 with fact elaboration by Uday Kandpal. The name of the chapter is Kingdoms, King and an Early Republic. So let's start. Formation of earlier kings. Some people became rajas by performing big sacrifices. The Ashwamedh or the horse sacrifice was one such ritual. So what is an Ashwamedh Yagya? A horse was let loose to wander freely and it was guarded by Raja's men. The horse then wandered freely with army behind and all through other kingdoms. Those kingdoms who challenged the horses had to fight and win. Else they had to accept the fact that the Raja performing the sacrifice was bigger than him. The Raja performing the sacrifice was considered to be very powerful and all those who came bought gifts for him. The Raja was the central figure in these rituals. He often had a special seat, a throne, or a tiger skin. His charioteer was his companion in the battle and witnessed his exploits in the battlefields. His relatives, especially his wives and sons, had to perform a variety of minor rituals. Priests performed the rituals, including the sprinkling of sacred water on the king. The ordinary people, Vis or the Vaishya, also brought gifts with them. The Vedic priesthood. Priests of the Vedic religions are officials of the yajna service. Yajna is an important part of the Hinduism, especially the Vedas. Persons trained for the ritual and proficient in its practice were called as Ritwij or regularly sacrificing. As members of social class, they were generically known as Vipra or sage or Kavi the seer. Specialization of roles attended the elaboration and development of the ritual corpus over time. Eventually, a full complement of the 16 Ritvijas became the custom for major ceremonies. The 16 consisted of 4 chief priests and their assistant. These 4 were the Hotra. The Hotra was a reciter of the invocation and litanies. These could consist of single verses, the rik, strophes, triples called the trik, or pairs called the pragat, or entire hymns called the sukt, drawn from the Rig Veda. As each phase of the ritual required an invocation, the Hotra had a leading or a presiding role. The Advaryu was in charge of physical details of the sacrifice, in particular the Advar, a term for the Som Yajna. According to the Monier Williams, the Advaryu had to measure the ground, build the altar, to prepare the sacrificial vessels, to fetch wood and water, to light the fire, to bring the animal and immolate it, among other duties. Each action was accompanied by supplicative or benedictive formulas, the Yajus, drawn from Yajurved. Over time, the role of Advaryu grew in importance, and many verses of the Rig Veda were incorporated either intact or adapted into the text of Yajurved. The Udgatra. The Udgatra was a chanter of hymns set to melodies, saman or psalm, drawn from the Samved. This was a specialized role in the major Som sacrifices. A characteristic function of the Udgatar was to sing hymns in the praise of the invigorating properties of the Som Pauman, the freshly pressed juice of the Som plant. The Brahman was the reciters of hymns from the Atharvaved who were largely silent and observed the procedures and uses Atharvaved mantras to heal it when the mistakes have been made. So Vedic priesthood, assistant of the 4 chief priests were with the Hotra there were Matavarun, the Achavak, the Gravastot or replacing the stones. With the Udgatar was the Prastotar who chant the Prastav, the Pratihatar, the Avartar and the Subramanya. With Athavaryu were the Prati Prasthatar, the Nistar and the Unnittar who pours the Som juice into the uh, receptacles. With the Brahman, the Brahmana Chamsin, the Brahman Chamsin, the Agnid, the priest who kindles the sacred fire, and the Potar, the purifier. Varna, the Vedic Varna system. Varna, a Sanskrit word with several meanings including type, order, color, or class, was used to refer to a social classes of Hindu texts like the Manusmriti. These and the other Hindu texts classify the society into 4 Varnas. Brahmins, who were the priests, scholars, and teachers. Kshatriyas, the rulers, warriors, and the administrators. Vaishyas, the agriculturists and the merchants, and Shudras, the laborers and the service providers. Communities which belong to one of the 4 Varnas or the classes are called as Savarnas. Those who did not belong to any Varna are called as Avarnas. Women and Shudras were not allowed to study the Vedas in the later Vedic period. The priest said that the Varnas were according to birth, meaning the son of priest will be priest, a king will be prince or king, and the son of Shudra will be a Shudra. It was initially not so during the early Vedic period, where Raja was the protector and non-hereditary. Then comes the formation of Janpadas. The early Vedic period, society was patriarchal and the eldest male of the kutum was the head of the family. In the Rig Vedic society comprises of the four varnas, which was based on the occupation of individuals. But in the later Vedic period, the society became differentiated on the basis of varna. Varna came to be known birth based rather than profession based. The proliferance of the profession gave rise to jatis. The nature of kingship was transformed, and rituals like Rajsuya, royal coronation, assumed significance in the later Vedic period. The polity of the early Vedic period was basically a tribal polity with the tribal chief in the center. The tribe was called Jana and the tribal chief was called Rajan. The Rajan looked after the affairs of the tribe with the help of other tribal members, and two tribal assemblies were the Sabha and Samiti. Sabha is consisted of elder members of the tribe, whereas the Samiti, which mainly dealt with the policy decisions and political business. Women were allowed to participate in the proceedings of the Sabha and Vidhata. In day-to-day administration, the king was assisted by two types of Purohit, that is the Vasisht and the Vishwamitra. The king did not mention any regular army as there was no kingdom as such. In fact, Rigvedic king did not rule over the kingdom but over the tribe. Vidhata appears for 122 times in the Rigved and seems to be the most important assembly in the Rigvedic period. Vidhata was an assembly meant for secular, religious, and military purpose. Later Vedic period. The political system of the later Vedic period was shifted towards monarchy. Now the kings ruled over an area of the land called Janpad. The king started maintaining an army of bureaucracy also, and the bureaucracy also get developed. The kingship was given to the status of divine character, and also this period witnessed the emergence of a concept of kings of kings. The Rigvedic popular assemblies lost importance and royal power increased at their cost. The Vidhata completely disappeared. The Sabha and Sarniya continued to hold the ground, but the character changed. The Sabha became more important than Sarniya. They came to be dominated by chief and rich nobles. Women were not allowed to attend the Sabha, which was now dominated by the nobles and the Brahmanas. Formation of Janpadas again. The Raja who performed big sacrifices were now recognized as Rajas of the Janpadas rather than the Janas. Janpad is an area, Jana is a group of people, so there was a change from peoplehood to landhood. Archaeologists have excavated a number of settlements in these Janpadas, such as Purana Kila in Delhi, Hastinapur near Meerut, UP, Atranji Khera near Etah, UP. They found that the people lived in huts, not in the big cities like early Harappan societies, so there was a shift from city dynamics to rural dynamics and kept cattle as well as the other animals. They also grew a wide variety of crops like rice, wheat, barley, pulses, sugarcane, sesame, and mustard. They made earthen pots. Some of them were green color, others were red. So one special type was found as painted graveware. Now comes the Mahajanpadas. About 2500 years ago, some of the Janpadas became important than others and were known to be as Mahajanpadas. Most of the Mahajanpadas had a capital city. Many of these fortified forts were built because people might be wary of attack of other kings. So new Rajas now began to maintain armies. Soldiers were paid regular salaries and maintained by the king throughout the year. So coin became a mode of currency instead of the barter system in the earlier periods. The coin were special punch marked seals of the kings and were popular mode of buying and selling things. Taxes were now being laid on people as such as bhag in the service of the king. Now list of the 16 Mahajanpadas like the Anga. The Ang Mahajanpada capital is Champa. Location is modern districts of Munger and Bhagalpur in Bihar. Magad, earlier Rajgriha, later Patliputla, covered with modern districts of Patna, Gaya and parts of Shahabad. Malla, capital at Kushinagar and Pawa, covered the modern districts of Deoria, Basti, Gorakhpur, Siddharthnagar in eastern UP. Vajji, in capital city is Vaishali, situated near the north of the river Ganga in Bihar. Kosal Shravasti is the capital, covered modern day districts in Faizabad, Gonda, Behraich of the eastern Uttar Pradesh. Kashi, capital is Varanasi, located in the region around Varanasi, that is modern Banaras. Chedi, the Shuktimati is the capital, covered present day Bundelkhand region. Kuru, Indraprasth is the capital, covered modern day Haryana and Delhi. Vats, capital is Kaushambi, covered modern districts of Allahabad and Mirzapur. Panchal, Achitra, Achitra, Uttar Panchal and Kampilya is Dakshin Panchal, the capital, and location is covered the area present western UP to the east of the river Yamuna up to the coastal Janpad. Matsya, Viratnagar is the capital and covered the areas of Alwar, Bharatpur and Jaipur in Rajasthan. Sursena, Mathura is the capital, covered the areas around Mathura. Avanti, Ujjaini and Mahishmati are the capital, covered the western India, modern day Malwa. Ashmak, the capital is Potan, situated in the southern part of India between the river Narmada and Godavari. Kamboj, the capital is capital of Rajpur in the modern day Kashmir, covered the area of Hindu Kush, modern Hazara districts of Pakistan. Kandhar, the capital is Takshila, covered the western part of Pakistan in eastern Afghanistan. Taxes. Rulers of Mahajanpadas had huge forts and maintained big armies. They needed more resources. They needed officials to collect these sources. So instead, depending on the occasional gifts as brought by the people, as in the case of Janpadas, they started collecting regular taxes. Taxes on crops were at most important. This was because most people were farmers. Usually, the tax was fixed at 1 by 6th of what was produced. This was known as bhag or share. There were taxes on craft persons as well. These could have been in the form of labor. For example, a weaver or a smith had to work for an entire day every month for the king. Herders were also expected to pay taxes in the form of animals and animal produce. There were also taxes on goods that were brought and sold through trade, and hunters and gatherers also had to provide the forest produce to the Raja. Changes in agriculture. There were two major changes in agriculture around this time. Growing use of iron plowshares. This meant that heavy clayey soil can be turned better even than a wooden plowshare, and people began transplanting paddy. This meant that instead of scattering seeds on the ground from which the plants would sprout, saplings were grown and then planted in the fields. The produce increased as a result of these changes, and the task were however backbreaking, and generally the slave men and women called the dasas and the dasis and the landless agricultural laborers known as the kamakars had to do this work. The Magad Mahajanpad. So we are talking about two important Mahajanpadas, the Magad and the Vajji. First is Magad Mahajanpada. Magad had two very powerful rulers, Bimbisar and Ajatasattu, who used all the possible means to conquer the Janpadas. Mahapadma Nanda was another important ruler. The Magad was one of the most prominent and prosperous Mahajanpadas. The capital city, Patliputra, Patna, Bihar, was situated on the confluence of major rivers like the Ganga, Son, Punpun, and Gandak. The alluvial plains of this region and its proximity to the copper and iron-rich areas of Bihar and Jharkhand helped the kingdom to develop good quality weapons and support the agrarian economy. Its location at the center at the highways of the trade of these days contributed to its wealth. All the factors helped the Magad to emerge as the most prosperous state of that period. The kingdom of Magad roughly correspond to the modern districts of Patna and Gaya in southern Bihar and parts of Bengal in the east. The capital city of Patliputra was found in the north by the river Ganges, in the east by the river Champa, in the south by the Vindhya mountains, and in the west by the river Son. During Buddhist time, its boundaries included Ang. Its earliest capital was Girivraj and Rajgriha, modern day Rajgir, in the Nalanda district of Bihar. The other name for the city were Magadpura, Brihadratpura, Vasumati, Kushagrapura, Bimbisar Puri. It was an active center of Jainism in the ancient times. The first Buddhist council was held in Rajgriha and the Vaibhar hills. Later on, Patliputra became the capital of Magad. So we are now into the chronology of the Magad dynasty or the Magad Mahajanpada. The following long chronology is according to the Buddhist Mahavansa. The source is Wikipedia. Haryanka dynasty, Bimbisar, reigned from 546 to 494 BCE. Ajatasattu 494 to 462 BCE. Udayin 462 to 446 BCE. So Udayin was credited to make the capital of their kingdom to Patliputra instead of Rajgiri. Anirudh and Munda 446 to 438 BCE, Nagadashak 438 to 414 BCE. Shishunag dynasty 414 to 394 BCE was Shishunag. Then Kalashok was from 396 to 368 BCE, and then there were 10 sons of Kalashok between 368 to 346 BCE. Then there was Nanda dynasty from 346 to 324 BCE. This is according to the Buddhist Mahavansh. Then on the other hand, the Hindu Puranas give a different sequence. Shishunag reigned for 40 years, Kakwan reigned for 36 years, Shem Tharman reigned for 20 years, Shatrujas for 29 years, Bimbisar for 28 years, Ajatasattu for 25 years, Darshak or Harshak for 25 years, Udayin for 33 years, Nandi Vardhan for 42 years, Mahanandi for 43 years, Nanda dynasty for 100 years. And a shorter list appears in the Jain tradition, which simply lists Trenika, Bimbisar, Kunik, Ajatasattu, Udayin, followed by Nanda dynasty. So the Mauryan dynasty was Chandragupta Maurya from 322 to 297 BC, founded the Mauryan dynasty. Then Bindusar 297 to 272 or 268 BCE. Then Ashok 272 to 268 to 32 BCE. Then Dashrath 232 to 224 BCE. Then Samprati 224 to 215 BCE. Then Shalishuk 212 to 202 BCE. Then Devvarman 202 to 195 BCE. Then Shardhanwan 195 to 187 BCE. Then Brihadrat from 187 to 110 BCE. So Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusar, Ashok, Dashrath, Samprati, Shalishuk, Devvarman, Shardhanwan, Brihadrat in the Mauryan dynasty. Then there was Gupta Empire, Gupta for late 3rd century, Ghatotkacha for late 3rd century 319, Chandragupta I 319 to 335 350, Kach for early 4th century, Samudragupta 335 to 350 375, Ramgupta later 4th century, Chandragupta II 380 to 400 13, 415, Kumargupt 415 to 455, Skandgupt 455 to 467, Purgupt 467 to 473, Kumargupt 473 to 476, Buddhgupt 476 to 495, Narsingupt 495, Bhanugupt circa 510, Venigupt circa 507, Kumargupt 3 circa 513, and Vishnugupt 540 to 550. So Gupta Empire consists of Gupta, Ghatotkaч, Chandragupt, Kach, Samudragupt, Ramgupt, Chandragupt 2, Kumargupt, Skandgupt, Purugupt, Kumargupt 2, Buddhgupt, Narsingupt, Bhanugupt, Venigupt, Kumargupt 3, and Vishnugupt. Then we come to the Vajji Mahajanpada. The Vajji or Vrijji was a confederacy of the neighboring clans, including the Lichavis, and one of the principal Mahajanpadas of the ancient India. The era they ruled constitutes a region of Mithila in the northern Bihar, and the capital was the city of Vaishali. Vajji, with its capital city at Vaishali, was under a different form of government known as Gan or Sangh. Both the Buddha and Mahavira belonged to the Ganas and the Sanghas. The name of the Mahajanpada was derived from the one of its ruling clans, the Vrijjis. The Vajji state is indicated to have been a republic, the clan mentioned by the Panini, Chanakya, and Xuanzang. Vajji territory, the territory of Vajji was located north of the Ganges in Bihar and extended up to the Madhesh region. On the west, the Gandaki river was probably on the boundary between the Vajji and the Malla Mahajanpad, and also possibly separated it from the Kosal Mahajanpad. On the east, its territory probably extended up to the forests of the banks of river Koshi and Mahananda, and the capital of this Mahajanpada was Vaishali. Other important towns and villages were Kundapur and Kundagram, a suburb of Vaishali, Bhognagar, and Hathigam. Ruling clans, the rulers of Vajji were a confederacy of 8 clans, Athakul, of whom were Vajjis, the Lichavis, the Kshatrikas, the Videhas, were the most important. Manudev was famous king of Licchavi who desired Amrapali after he saw her dance in Vaishali. The identities of the other 4 clans were not certain. However, in the passage of the Kritang, the Ugra, the Bhoja, the Kaurav, the Ikshvakus are associated with the Kshatrikas and the Lichavis as the subjects of same ruler and the members of the same assembly. Then there was Magad Vajji War. The Magad Vajji War was a conflict between the Haryanka dynasty of the Magad and the neighboring Vajji confederacy, which was led by the Lichavis. The conflict is remembered in both Buddhist and Jain tradition. The conflict ended in a defeat for Vajji confederacy and the Magadans annexing their territory. The cause of war, according to the Buddhist tradition, there was a diamond mine near a village on the river Ganges. There was an agreement between Ajatashatru and Lichavis of the Vajji that they would have an equal share. However, one day Ajatashatru failed to collect his own share and entire load was taken by the Vajjians. This happened on multiple occasions, and at last Ajatashatru lost his patience and thought it is almost impossible to fight against the whole confederacy of Vaishali. I must uproot these powerful Vajjis and exterminate them. He sent his chief minister Vasakar to Lord Buddha to ask him the purpose of Vaishali being invincible, to which Lord Buddha gave 7 reasons, which is included in the Vajjis: being punctual to the meetings, their disciplined behaviors, their respect for elders, respect for women. They did not marry their daughters forcefully. They gave spiritual protections to the Arhats, and the main reason was the Chaityas or the altars inside the town. So this is a map showing the different kingdoms. Starting from the east is the Anga kingdom. Then there is Rajgir or Magad. Above Magad there is Vajji or the where Vaishali is the capital. Left to the Vajji is Malla, where Kushinagar. Then Kashi below it in Varanasi. Then above Kashi it's Kosal, Ayodhya. Then there below is Vatsa, then below that is Chedi, then left to it is Avanti, above Avanti is Matsya, right to the Matsya is Sursen, above Sursen is Panchal, above Panchal is Kuru, and in the top near Kashmir it is Gandhar, and above it is Kamboj. So this is how the Mahajanpadas were there. And in the last there is near Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra and Odisha, it is Asmak. So you can see the map and identify the different Mahajanpadas during that time. So hope you liked my lecture and hope you learned a lot for the competitive exams. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.